Morning, everyone. That's exactly what we're doing, Simon. Apologies for the slight delay. We are going to go straight to Sky. And good morning, Ian Bolton. Morning, Ian.
Morning. Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm okay, Ian. I am okay, thank you.
I do hope so.
Sorry.
Do you need water?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. Look, do you welcome the decision of the Premier League clubs to stick to 3 substitutes?
Well, at this particular moment, over the last couple of weeks, don't get me wrong, I think I could have done with at least 5 substitutes with the problems we had. I applaud the decision to have another 2 on the bench, but I think we've started something. When we started the competition and everybody voted and they voted for 3 subs, me particularly at this moment would go for 5 because the problems we had, but I'm also that we started the season with the rule, and I'm all for sticking with the rules unless there is something blatantly that we could change what helps. That's
3 votes already, do you perhaps then hope that this is the end of the matter?
Well, I think that's 3 votes within the first 4 months. So, hey, we can never say never, but you just asked me my opinion on it. As I've said, at this particular moment, with the problems what we've had, certainly with the illnesses what we've had and the COVID that we've got, then our biggest problem at the moment, of course, is fatigue. What we're finding is with the vast majority of the players and the staff, the biggest problem, of course, recovering is the fatigue of 1 or 2 other players. And obviously that's a concern. But as I said, we all voted at the start. So for me, we stay with 3. I can understand that we've started, so we should finish it.
Do you welcome the trial, perhaps even next month, for concussion substitutes? Is that an important step forward?
Well, I think what's also most sensible is the introduction of 9 subs, which certainly for a manager anyway keeps your squad a little bit happier. I mean, I left behind the other day because of the restrictions, and when you only travel with 18 players, I left 3 behind the other day. Now, that's not great for morale that I hear on the training ground that there's 3 of them for 2 days. So, that makes a bit of sense, that we're all included in the squad. So I applaud that one. On the other issue, then, on concussion, then for me, it's obviously common sense. And when I seen, was it Vertonghen, who was obviously in a bad place when he tried to get back onto a pitch. And look, most players want to get back out there. And but now with the doctors we have, with the facilities we have, that can only be a good thing. I'm all favour for it.
How are things looking for you, for your squad, for the weekend? Do you have any new injury concerns? Is there some positive news?
No, we don't have any more new injury concerns. We still got 4 or 5 of the squad missing through illness. So, it's been a difficult time in that respect. However, we are seeing a light at the end of the tunnel that we hope we can get them all back. Certainly, we have got 1 or 2 though who are finding a struggle at the moment, which is obviously my concern now is for their well-being and their welfare, because now they've been struggling for a while with it.
Yeah, still muted there, Ian.
I just unmuted myself. You go into this match against Fulham off the back of conceding 5 at Leeds in midweek. You were critical of some of your defending, particularly with conceding 3 in the last quarter of an hour. As a former defender, just how frustrating is it for you?
Well, there's no doubt at all that was a poor goal, the 3rd one. We've had 2 occasions where we could clear the ball, and we didn't. And we've got caught in our own box and got punished, and that's the Premier League. The 4th one and the 5th one where I can understand because we're trying to chase the game and left myself badly exposed, and all of a sudden we've conceded 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. which puts a different reflection for me anyway on how the game was. And when we equalised, I thought we've given ourselves a wonderful opportunity to go and win the match. And unfortunately, not to be. But certainly, when we're chasing the game with 3-2 down with 5 minutes to play, then we can't be as naive as what we were to get caught twice on a corner. So, we're disappointed, but we've scored twice again away from home. That's 2 away games on the trot. We've scored a couple of goals. We've done that against West Brom at home. So at the forward end of the pitch, we're starting to look a threat, which is important. What we have to do, of course, is get that balance right, which I've talked about a long time, and make sure we defend better as a team than we did, certainly in the last 10 minutes the other night.
And how do you go about ensuring that doesn't happen again, Steve?
You show them and teach them and work on it. I think we know that we were naive, and we were naive and caught. I have to say the 5th goal, when I analysed it back, is a wonder goal. It's arguably as good as you're going to see all season, but we were still naive, and something which we've prided ourselves upon here is that resilience. And unfortunately, we've been caught. And it puts a different reflection on the scoreline, in my opinion.
Fulham just recently. Sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. Look, just on Fulham, they've recently drawn with Liverpool. They beat Leicester not so very long ago. Are they a different prospect now than they were earlier in the season? Are they defensively much more solid?
Well, fair play to the manager and his coaching staff, because they are certainly better in the last month, 6 weeks than they were at the start, and they've adapted to the Premier League life. Certainly in the last few weeks, anyway, they look at very, very decent outfits with some very good players. So, as I keep saying, week in and week out in the Premier League, Fulham have got very, very good players, and have found a system over the last few weeks. And of course, we'll be buoyed when you get a big result like they did against Liverpool. Then that gives a little bit of confidence. They've obviously kept another clean sheet in midweek, so another tough game. But that's what the Premier League is, and how open. And I've never seen the Premier League the way it is at the moment. I've never seen it when we're all seeing different results, basically of just what's happened over the last 3-4 months. Certainly has affected even the Premier League.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
Vicky Sparks.
Hi, Steve. Good to see you.
Hi, Vic.
One of those players, obviously, Alexander Mitrovic, bit of a cult hero during his time at Newcastle. So dangerous for Fulham in the past, but has been struggling to get into their side of late.
Yeah, I would have loved the opportunity to work with him. He was great up here, wasn't he? And you can understand why he's a bit of a cult hero. He's different, and he epitomises what the North East's all about, isn't he? Big, tough, strong, fiercely competitive, bit of an edge to him. I'm a big admirer of him. He transferred Fulham, transformed them when he went down there in the Championship. He was too good for the Championship, to be honest. So didn't have the chance to work with him, but I understand why he's a bit of a cult hero up here, because of what he is and what he gives you.
And Scott Parker coming back as well, former Newcastle captain, first time at St James's Park as a manager. What do you make of him as a young manager?
Well, he's had a great start. In his first year, he gets a promotion. He had an introduction to it, and the team responded to him in the Premier League a couple of years ago. And as I've just said on a radio station, I'm delighted that another young one, because I really, really worried and feared that there was no young ones coming through, young English, British ones, and Scotty's bucked the trend a bit, and he's had a really, really good start. He's got a promotion under his belt, and even the way in the last month or 6 weeks he's had a look at what he's got and seems to have turned them round a bit. I'm delighted that he's come into it a bit like Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard, Scotty Parker. It's great to see that the young ones have stayed in the game and are doing fantastically well.
And I guess from a Newcastle perspective, it is going back to that same question, isn't it? How do you build the consistency going forward, with the caveat that this last couple of weeks off the pitch has been very challenging?
Look, I never want to try and make excuses, but it has been very, very challenging. And the big thing, of course, is managing fatigue. Is all the players want to play, but the one thing about what we're finding is the virus is it leaves you fatigued. I don't know if any of the journalists or whatever, or family or whatever who've had it, that's the big concern we have, is the fatigue. So yeah, getting that consistency right and that balance, but I'm never going to make excuses with it. But the one thing that we have been able to do is score twice in the last 3 games. And even though scoring twice away from home is difficult in the Premier League, where we should be taking something from the game. And unfortunately, in the last 15 minutes, we didn't defend properly. And didn't defend, and we give away poor goals. And that's something which you can't do at this level. And by giving ourselves a chance, I thought when we equalised, I thought it would be us who'd go on, and but not to be.
Thanks, Steve. Good luck.
Thanks, Vicky. Alistair McGowan, BBC Sport.
Hi, Steve. Hope you're well.
Alistair, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Just going back to the 2 players you said have been suffering with fatigue for a while now. How long do you think it'll be before they're back in contention?
It's not just fatigue; they've got other symptoms too.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but I don't know. It's a really, really difficult one. But certainly a couple of the players in particular, it's had a damaging effect. So it won't be a week or 2. It's going to be longer than that. So we'll just have to accept it. And mine, of course, is the well-being of the players too. We're not just talking about an injury here or a calf strain. We're talking of a virus which unfortunately has damaged them. And obviously we'll try our utmost to make sure that we look after them and the welfare of them, that will adhere to the rules and do everything we can.
Going back to the substitution decisions that have been made by the Premier League this week. Obviously, we're at 3 subs still, just normally, but there's concussion subs being brought in too. Do you think that creates an environment where teams could manipulate the rules at all?
Well, I certainly hope not. Look, I can understand why we're making that, because the pictures, and I heard the Vertonghen interview where he wasn't right for weeks and months. And then we obviously see that awful clash of heads where the Wolves player and the Arsenal boy. So we're bringing it in for all the right reasons. And you hope that there's no skullduggery going on. I wouldn't have thought so anyway. I think we're a bit beyond that.
And just last one from me. I think you mentioned, post-match after the game the other day, that one of the reasons maybe you can't be too expansive is if you go too gung-ho, you end up conceding like you did towards the end of the game. I just wondered, I know this gets brought up a lot, but how long do you think it is, or how long do you think it will be before maybe you can have a more expansive style that maybe the fans and you want?
Well, we've scored a couple of goals in the last 3 games, and in 2 of the games we've managed to win with it. Look, progress is going to be always slow, because you can't just transform the way we want to go overnight. And look, we were so naive the other night in terms of the 3rd goal was a poor goal to give away. We've had 2 opportunities to clear the ball, and I've said from day one, it's getting that balance right between an attacking unit and obviously a defensive unit. And the other night we just defended so naively, chasing the game, and we have to be better than that. I think I thought we'd learned before. We got caught against Man U the same way, where we're trying to get an equaliser and left ourselves wide open, and unfortunately at this level, then you get punished. Thank you.
Okay, Don Thulis. Morning, Don. Don, we can't hear you. You'll need to unmute, please. Someone needs to mute.
Please.
We're on the case.
Thank you very much. Steve, can you hear me all right?
I can now, Dawn. Yes, I can.
Fine. It's out of my hands this morning. I'm in a different environment. But anyway, hey, how good is it, I suppose, to get another game, so quickly after the defeat, at least?
It's the one thing you want, certainly when you've had a defeat like we've just had. We've got two big, huge games coming up. Huge. In the respect of this one and the cup tie on Tuesday night. How great it would be. What an opportunity to get to 20 points by Christmas, which isn't the halfway stage now. Probably end of January is the halfway stage. We usually class Christmas as the halfway stage. And if you get to 20 points by Christmas, you're usually jumping up and down. So we've got a great opportunity, and how great it would be. Can we get to 20 points? And can we be in the semi-final of the cup? Would be tremendous. So all to play for, and let's hope we can achieve it.
Yes, as you say, that the game's coming thick and fast. Andy Carroll hasn't seen much action lately. Is he likely to see some more between now and Christmas?
Well, I'm sure I'll be using most of them because of the backlog of what we've got. Not just going into Christmas, it's the new year, January. The schedule in January is unbelievable too. So yes, I mean, Andy will be frustrated that he hasn't been seen much lately, but he's just recovering from a calf strain. He's fine, and I'm sure he'll have moments on the pitch. That's for sure.
Ryan Fraser, obviously instrumental in the game the other night. How good is it to have him back on the pitch?
Well, we've had to be patient with him, and as we've said, with a couple of players, Dummy's the same. Whereas people have been out for a long time with injury, with no pre-season. He was the other way. He was okay. He was not injured, but hadn't played. I hadn't trained since last March. So we knew it was always going to be difficult. And then he picked up an injury. But we know, we've seen glimpses of, certainly when he's been training for the last week, 2 weeks, of what he's going to give us. And we're delighted that he's obviously fit. And that's going to be a good thing.
That's all from me, Steve. Have a great Christmas if I don't speak to you again before.
And you, John. Merry Christmas, Steve.
Merry Christmas.
Thanks, Don. Simon O'Rourke?
Hi, Steve. Just got a couple. Football has worked so hard, so has Newcastle United, to combat COVID and keep the show on the road. And yet, when your club is affected by it in the way you have been, it could have a profound effect on your season, because I know you've said you can't use it as an excuse, but if you're still going to be missing players for a period of weeks, the fact is you are disadvantaged compared to some other teams.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are going to be disadvantaged for at least another few weeks with at least a couple of players. You try and treat it like it's an injury, but we have been affected, and it's the after effects with it. But as I keep saying, we can't make it an excuse because, this time last year, for example, we're going into Christmas more riddled with injuries. I think you accept injuries, but an illness is something which is new, not new, but a virus like this is obviously new to everybody. But I've seen the effect now it has on young, extremely fit young professional footballers, and the effect it's had on them, and two of them in particular. So yes, we're at a disadvantage, and we hope, for my sake as well as the players, do recover properly, and I give them the time to recover, because it's the welfare of them and their long-term health. And if this long-term curve, if one or two of them have got it like it seems to have had, then it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult to manage, of course.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you, broadcasters. Rick and guys will be with you in a moment. Please use the raise hand function now. Thanks.
Cheers all, thank you.